Hi everyone, this is Susan with the Rhinestone World. In this video, I'm going to show you an overview of the knife tool features that are available in Silhouette Studio Designer Edition and higher. So I'm here in my design page and I'm in Business Edition, and we're going to talk about the knife tool. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over and draw a rectangle shape, and I just want to show you your first couple options with the knife tool. So you'll find the knife tool over here on the left side, and when I click the knife tool, notice I don't need to have a certain shape selected. I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. But right up at the top, take a look at these first two. So my first two options are solid or outline. So when solid is selected, it has a little bit of gray shading around it. If I make a knife, make a cut, I'm just going to change this to straight. So if I make a cut across my rectangle, notice that when I make the cut, which takes just a moment, I now have two separate shapes that has automatically closed up for me. However, if I select the knife tool and I choose outline, now if I make a cut and I'm just holding down the shift key while I make that line to make it a perfectly straight line, now even though it doesn't look like it's really done anything, you'll see that it has cut this, and now it's a shape that is not fillable. So while I could select this rectangle and change the color, these are really just lines, and I can't fill them because they're not a shape that is fillable. So if I wanted to, I could go into point editing mode and I could close this up and make this a shape that can be filled with color. So that's one of the first options you have with the knife tool, and I'm going to also just show you that in addition to the straight line, notice that there are quite a few options here for the shape of your cut, for the design. So straight, poly, curve, and freehand, those are all available in Basic Edition, but these advanced features include some different shapes. So there are things like a wave, so I can go across here and make a wave, and when I make the cut, now I have two separate shapes, and my cut is the shape of a wave. Now the other thing that I want to point out is that when I made that cut, I had some options there, but because I have auto apply selected, it automatically went ahead and made the cut, and that's the default setting. So if I uncheck auto apply and do the same thing again and come across here with my knife tool, red is not the best choice of color because the line is the same color. So I'm just going to change this to a lighter color so you can see the knife line. Notice my knife line here, because it didn't automatically apply the cut yet, I have some options. So on the left side, I have this little red dot. I'm just going to make this just a little larger. This little red dot allows me to change the height of my cut, that design in the cut. And over here on the right side, this little circle that's not filled in at all allows me to just change where I want it to end. And this might be handy because if you're choosing how your material is going to cut, you might not want a strange looking cut at the very end. And in the center is a little slider which allows me to just space this out. And notice when I slide to the left, I get fewer of the effects. When I slide to the right, I get a lot more of those waves. Now if I want to come up here and apply my cut because it's exactly how I wanted it, it just takes a moment for Silhouette Studio to make that cut, and now I have two different shapes that have that cut. So you'll find the knife tool handy when you're designing, and I'm just going to give you a couple quick examples of things that you can do with the knife tool. So I have a shape here, And let's say that I want to add some more of these scrolls, that I want it to be a little fancier. I want to have more of those little curlies. I could come in here, and what I'm going to do is just make a duplicate of this by holding down my Alt key and dragging with my left mouse. And I could go in and zoom in, and I could actually select an extra one of these scrolls, for example, and add it on to my design. So let's say I want to use my knife and I want a straight line, and I'm going to have it auto apply. I could make a cut here, and now I have an extra piece that I could come up here and add on to my design. Maybe I'd like to flip it around and come over here, change it so that it fits in with my design, and now I could select this and the original design together and weld them. So now I've added on to this design. I've started to make it a little bit different, and I could continue to do that. I could cut pieces off of something and weld it onto another shape. Another example of how you might want to use the knife tool, I have a tree here, and I'm going to cut off these scrolls on the sides. And let's say I'm just going to come over and take my knife tool. I have it on auto apply, and I have it ready to cut a straight line. And let's say I just want to come up here and cut straight down and make a cut. Now notice that my cut was not perfectly straight, and now when I start deleting these, there are a few places that have a little extra bump here. So if I had chosen my knife tool, and on this side I'm going to unclick the auto apply, and on this side when I draw my knife line, my cut line, and when I come down, since it didn't auto apply, I could use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I could adjust this cut line slightly, and I could also just move it this direction, and I can zoom in so that I can see if I have a line exactly where I want it. I'm going to just adjust this a little bit, and now I'm ready to apply my cut line. Now when I remove each of these extra little scrolls, I have a nice straight line, hopefully, and that would be a reason that you might want to use the knife tool. Another feature that I could do on the side here is, just as an example, I could come over and use my knife tool and change it to, let's say, sawtooth, and I'm not checking auto apply in case I want to adjust this, so I can come down here and give it like that kind of a look. And now I could also change how many of those little designs I want, and I could change the height of it. I think it looks okay there, so I'm going to hit apply, and now I have all these little pieces that are separate, and now I have changed my design, and this looks maybe more like what I wanted it to look like. So that's just another example for you. And oh, you can see I don't have very nice edges right there, so I can always hit my undo and go back and correct those. So these are just a couple ways that you might want to use the advanced features in the knife tool in Designer Edition and above. I hope this was helpful. If you're thinking about upgrading to Designer Edition or Business Edition, go over to therhinestoneworld.com and you can buy the upgrade to Designer Edition or Business Edition. And if you're new to Silhouette Studio, or if you're new to Designer Edition or Business Edition, be sure to look at all of our videos on YouTube, because we cover so many of these different features. They're going to walk you through it, and all those videos are free on YouTube. Also on our website, you can always see our latest webinars that are available, as well as one-on-one training, and that's going to be suited exactly to your needs with a trainer. So these are great things that you can take advantage of at therhinestoneworld.com.